Good evening and welcome. Settle in and soften your shoulders as a small kitchen light hums while a kettle waits in the corner. I'm Earthy Remedy, and I'm glad you're here. Let's take a gentle breath together. Tonight, we're folding a tiny fruit into warm routines, the rosehip. Imagine sunlight turned into a little jewel, warm and bright.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sam Nang Bradley. I can already smell the idea of it, citrus and late autumn warmth. Let's explore this natural ingredient together and how it slips so easily into slow, everyday rituals.
Tonight's angle is simple. Rosehips as a pantry tonic for warmth and glow. We'll wander through what they feel like, how they smell, and 3 gentle ways to bring them into your day: a slow steeped tisane, a honeyed infusion or quick syrup, and a mild rosehip rinse for refreshed skin. Nothing medical, just small sensory rituals you can enjoy.
That feels perfect for a quiet evening. Before we move into the how-tos, tell me about those little fruits. Shape, scent, the kind of memory that comes with them.
Rosehips are like tiny, plump lanterns, round or slightly pear-shaped, often a warm orange to deep rose red. The shell is velvety and dry to the touch, and when you rub one, a bright, tangy citrus berry scent lifts up, a sunny, almost tart scent with a soft herbal undernote. I remember a small village window I visited years ago, jars of deep copper syrup set out to catch the afternoon light. The sun would make the jars glow like small sunsets on the sill.
That image makes my hands want to wrap a mug. And I like that you mentioned texture, because rosehips hold tiny seeds inside, and those seeds have fine hairs that we need to be mindful of later when we strain.
Exactly. Sensory details matter here because they guide how we handle them. You'll often see whole, dried rosehips or halves or even powders. The common varieties you'll encounter are from wild roses or cultivated dog rose. They're all small and tangy, but sourcing matters, which we'll cover next.
Before we go into recipes, let's offer listeners a few ways these fit into busy lives. Quick ideas make it easier to bring a ritual back and again.
3 everyday uses to tuck into a routine. 1, a warming rosehip tisane, slow steeped, like resting with sunlight in a cup. 2, an infused honey or quick syrup for toast, tea, or drizzles. And 3, a cooled, mild rosehip rinse for a little skin refresh, used gently after a bath. Each is sensory first: warmth, sweetness, or cool refreshment.
Those are lovely. And now the practical notes many listeners will want: how to source and how to stay safe, especially about those seed hairs you mentioned.
Sourcing and safety. Choose reputable herb suppliers or well-identified garden harvests. Avoid foraging wild fruits unless you're trained to identify plants. When using whole or dried rosehips, remember the seeds contain fine hairs that can irritate throat or skin. Always strain infusions through a fine sieve lined with cheesecloth or a nut milk bag. For topical use, do a small patch test on the inside of your forearm and wait 24 hours. And a gentle reminder, we're sharing kitchen remedies, not medical advice. Consult a healthcare professional if you have questions, are pregnant, nursing, or taking medications.
That's such a sensible set of precautions. Also look at labels. Single-ingredient dried rosehips without fillers are best, and drying at home in a low-heat oven or dehydrator works well if you harvest them yourself.
Let's move into the first practical use, a warming rosehip tisane. Make yourself a cozy mug and follow along slowly. Step by step for rosehip tisane. Use 1 to 2 tablespoons of dried rosehips per cup of water. Bring water to a gentle simmer, around 90 to 95 degrees Celsius if you have a thermometer, or simmer, then remove from heat. Add the rosehips and cover the pot so the aromatics stay in. Let steep for 10 to 20 minutes for a bright, full flavor.
After steeping, pour the infusion through a fine sieve lined with cheesecloth to capture any seed hairs. Taste, then sweeten lightly with honey or a touch of maple if you like. Serve warm, and breathe in that citrus berry steam before your first sip.
A couple of gentle variations. Add a strip of orange peel for extra brightness, or a small pinch of cinnamon for a warming note. For a cold day, steep longer. For a lighter afternoon cup, aim for the lower steep time.
Practical use: rosehip infused honey or a quick syrup. Infused honey is slow and fragrant. Quick syrup is fast and pantry-friendly. Here's a simple honey infusion method. Gently warm a half cup of honey with a quarter cup of crushed dried rosehips in a small saucepan over the lowest heat for about 15 minutes. Don't boil. Let cool, then strain through cheesecloth into a clean jar. Label and store in a cool, dark cupboard. Use a teaspoon in tea, on toast, or stirred into porridge.
And for a quick syrup, simmer 1 cup water with 1 cup sugar and half a cup crushed rosehips for about 10 minutes. Then remove from heat and steep another 10 minutes. Strain thoroughly, bottle, and use within a couple of weeks in the fridge. Both versions concentrate the rosehip flavor and are a gentle pantry staple.
Practical use Part C, a mild rosehip skin rinse. For a gentle topical ritual, steep a stronger infusion. Use 2 tablespoons of dried rosehips per cup. Simmer gently for 10 minutes, then let cool completely. Line a sieve with cheesecloth and strain carefully to remove seeds and hairs. Once cool, test a tiny amount on your inner forearm and wait. If all is well after 24 hours, you can splash or spritz your face or body for a light sensory refresh. Keep this non-medical and minimal, a splash for scent and refreshment rather than a treatment.
I appreciate the careful language there. Refreshed skin, a little ritual, not a promise of healing. And always store any homemade rinse in the fridge and use within a few days to be safe.
Let's take a short guided sensory pause. Close your eyes if you can, and imagine walking through a late sun cottage garden. The air is slightly brisk, jars of copper syrup warm on a windowsill. Reach out and touch a rosehip. The shell is slightly papery. The scent lifts bright and tart. Breathe that brightness in and feel how small, repeated moments like this can steady a busy day.
That was lovely. I feel steadier already. For a soft takeaway, what's one small habit listeners could carry forward tonight?
One small habit: keep a jar of rosehip infused honey or a mason jar of dried rosehips near your tea supplies. When you notice a pause in your day, steep a cup and take 3 slow sips while listening to the sound of the kettle settling. It becomes a repeatable, calming mini ritual. Before we close, here is a calm recipe you can try tonight: a cozy rosehip tisane and a quick infused honey. Recipe steps: slowly. For the tisane, measure 1 to 2 tablespoons dried rosehips per cup. Simmer water and steep for 10 to 20 minutes, then strain through cheesecloth. For the quick infused honey, gently warm half a cup honey with a quarter cup crushed dried rosehips for 15 minutes on low. Cool, then strain into a jar. Remember, strain well, label, and store the honey at room temperature in a dark place. The jar makes a lovely little ritual to return to for weeks.
If you try it, start small, and please do the patch test before any topical use. If you enjoyed this gentle recipe, we'd love to hear how you adapted.
If this episode felt like a quiet window into plant wisdom, please subscribe so you can wander back with us. Follow the show and share with a friend who cherishes small rituals. Let nature guide us today, and if you make the honey or the tisane, tuck a note beside the jar about when you made it.
Thank you for listening. A warm cup and a soft light to you. We'll be back with another pantry story soon.
Let's take a gentle step into nature's wisdom. Good night, and may your evenings be small,
warm and full of simple scent.